A very good evening. It's Sunday the 21st of June and welcome to Newsfirst Weekend. I'm Arunati Mudannayak and as always, let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
President explains the path the SLFP needs to take. Udayanga Veeratunga responds to the allegations levelled against him on an arms deals with Ukraine rebels. Individual who tipped the police on a drug racket assaulted. Sri Lanka joins 192 nations to mark the first ever International Yoga Day. Pakistan records their first test match victory in 9 years on Sri Lankan soil.
President Maithripala Sirisena says that the Sri Lanka Freedom Party must gear up to move forward under one leadership. The President made this statement in Newsfirst today.
The Newsfirst District Summit of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party was held at the auditorium of the Newsfirst Municipal Council this morning.
At a time when the country has been handed over to me by the people and you of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, it is my responsibility to make certain changes and transformations based on the ideas put forward by you. Are we to make way for these transformations or are we to backtrack on them? Do we separate, divide or break away? There were instances in the history of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party where the party broke away. But if anyone attempts to divide this party into two, it will be made clear to you and the country as to who is behind these attempts. Those who say that if the Sri Lanka Freedom Party is not divided among one another as yet, let's destroy the UPFA and contest the elections separately under a different party, then those persons are traitors to the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. I have no intention of taking revenge from anyone. So if you placed your trust in me and handed over the party to me, I urge all of you to rally around me unitedly in brotherhood and assist me in the election campaign to establish a government. That is what I want. A country cannot have two leaders. There can be only one.
The Newsfirst District Hospital, which is undergoing renovation, came under the inspection of President Maithripala Sirisena. The 6-storied hospital is being refurbished with the latest facilities. President Sirisena, who inspected the construction activities of the hospital last evening, urged the relevant officials to conclude the construction of the hospital speedily in order to improve the health facilities of the people of the Newsfirst district.
Minister Sajith Premadasa says that some in the opposition are trying to break the bond between the President and the Prime Minister. The Minister made this observation while addressing a function in Hambantota today.
Before the 8th January, public money of this country was robbed in broad daylight. They are trying to steal the position of Prime Minister through the back door and conspire against President Maithripala Sirisena in Parliament and bring a no-confidence motion against him. This is the major conspiracy which these cunning protectors are working towards sending the President home.
This function was held this morning to distribute building material for the construction of the monastery of the Dharma Rakita Rama Viharaya in Rabawata Tisama Rama.
Speaking at a meeting in Temple Trees today, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe said that the dark era of this country came to an end with the appointment of Maithripala Sirisena as the President.
The Prime Minister made this statement during a meeting with members of the National Youth Front.
Maithripala Sirisena maituma janadhipatiyan passe tamai me bhishani uge avasan kare.
The era of fear of this country ended with Maithripala Sirisena becoming the president. That is when the people began living freely. We promised that we would provide relief and solutions to short-term problems within a short span of 100 days. Within these 100 days, we achieved things that certain governments could not achieve even in 5 years. But despite doing all this, it is now time for us to look into the long-term problems. What is our biggest problem at hand? That is providing youth of this country with a future.
අපි මේ 18 වෙනි සංශෝධනය කුණු කූඩුවට දාලා
After putting the 18th Amendment to the Constitution into the trash, we brought in the 19th Amendment to the Constitution and curtailed the powers of the President, and now we hope to bring in the 20th Amendment to the Constitution. We did this with the aim of establishing democracy in this country. I am the State Minister of Defence. We will not allow anyone to influence the national security of the country.
මේ රටේ ජාතික ආරක්ෂාවට කිසිම බලපෑමක් කරන්නට ඉඩ දෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා තමුන්නාන්සලාට කියන්නට ඕනේ මිත්‍රෝනි.
ප්‍රියංකර ජයරත්න ඇමතිවරයාගෙන් එදා මත්තල ගුවන්තොටුපළට වැඩිපුරම එන ගුවන් යාන.
When Minister Priyanka Rajaratna was asked what is the name of the company which lands most number of planes at the Mattala airport, he responded by saying it is Rotana Jet Company. When asked what was the income generated during that month, he mentioned an amount close to 17,400. We asked if it is 17,400 in millions or billions, but no, it was just 17,400 rupees.
නෑ රුපියල් මං ගෝ ඕයි එහා පැත්තේ ඉන්නවා මේ මීකිරි විකුණන අම්මලා ඔය මත්තල එයාපෝට් එක එහා පැත්තේ මීකිරි විකුණන අම්මලා ඉන්නවා.
Then I told him that there are women who sell curd on the other side of the Mattala airport and earn 17,400 rupees in a week. Those are the kinds of investments that they made. Now they have been closed down with padlocks.
බෝදාලා වහලා ඉන්නවා.
Taking a look at a developing story for tonight, issuing a press release today, former Sri Lankan ambassador to Russia, Udayanga Weeratunga, denies supplying weapons to Ukrainian rebels and the death of Noel Ranavira, who was an employee of the Sri Lankan embassy in Russia.
The former ambassador to Russia says that he has no intention of coming back to Sri Lanka at this time because members of the government he served are being subjected to harassment and victimization by the present government. He added that the story that he had supplied arms to separatist rebels in Ukraine and that President Petro Poroshenko's government had complained to the Sri Lankan Foreign Ministry about him is a complete lie, citing that he is in possession of a certificate issued by the Internal Affairs Ministry of Ukraine dated the 1st of April 2015, bearing number 668588 to the effect that he is not being investigated for any crime within Ukraine. In his release, Udayanga Weeratunga notes that the Ukrainian ambassador in India, who is also accredited to Sri Lanka, has informed Foreign Minister Mangala Samaravira and Foreign Secretary Chitrangani Wageshwara that this allegation against him is false. Udayanga Weeratunga goes on to say that allegations that he was responsible for the death of Noel Ranavira, an employee of the Sri Lankan embassy in Russia, is another fabrication. He says that Noel Ranavira died after being run over by a lorry driven by a Russian citizen on the 11th of June 2014, adding that the incident has been recorded on CCTV cameras and there is a criminal investigation and court proceeding against the driver of the vehicle. In his release, the former ambassador of Sri Lanka to Russia, Udayanga Weeratunga, goes on to claim that he is currently living in Ukraine's capital Kiev and that if he had been supplying arms to rebels fighting the Ukrainian government, he would not be able to live there. He announced that documents issued by the Ukrainian and Russian authorities in relation to these matters will be emailed to all media organizations separately. Ukraine rebels whom Udayanga Weeratunga allegedly supplied arms to begin their fight for an independent state. Udayanga Weeratunga under suspicion over the death of Noel Ranavira, an employee of the Sri Lankan embassy in Russia. Ministry of Foreign Affairs revealed that they have received a complaint that weapons were sold to Ukraine rebels. Investigations recommenced into the death of Noel Ranavira while serving in Russia. Today, Udayanga Weeratunga denies all allegations levelled against him.
An individual who tipped the police of a consignment of heroin that was being smuggled into the country via sea has been subjected to an unexpected amount of labour. As it turns out, it is the police themselves who are behind the harassment of this individual.
Fishermen say that the Toduava coastal belt in Maravilla has become a trading centre for drug dealers to exchange drugs coming in from India. The most recent exchanges were revealed on the 12th of this month when a boat carrying heroin met with an accident. 3 persons were ashore assisted to bring the floating packets of heroin back to land. However, these 3 individuals were unaware that these packets were filled with heroin.
A raft which was adrift on the sea toppled. When such incidents take place, as villagers we went there to assist them. We asked them what these were. They said that it was cannabis. There were 3 of us. We took one small bag and another big bag. Afterwards, since they said it was cannabis, I hid them in a hut.
He said that it was later that he found out that what he had hid was not cannabis but a stock of heroin. He added that he had called the police emergency hotline to inform them about the stock of heroin. Thereafter, officials from the Police Narcotics Bureau confiscated the drugs. This individual informed the police of the drugs, not taking into consideration the possible dangers that he could face from those who had brought in the drugs. They said they will give us 3 million rupees if we give them back these 7 parcels. I said, no, we cannot. We will hand this over to the police. They left thereafter. The police said that the chief suspect was later arrested in the Kalutara area. However, the individual who tipped the police of the drugs was taken to the Kalutara police and was assaulted by police officers.
Officers of the Kalutara police took me away and beat me up really bad. They kept asking me where the other 2 were, but what I gave was what I had in my bag. So how can I give something that I do not have?
If police officers assault individuals who put their lives at risk by providing information on drug-related incidents similar to this, can we expect that person or anyone to inform the police of such a thing? We contacted police media spokesperson ASP Ron Gunasekara with regard to this incident.
As mentioned earlier, the police interrogated a group of individuals who provided information on the stock of heroin which they hid. The police also questioned them about another 2 kilograms of heroin. This statement was made by an individual who attempted to disrupt the interrogation at the time. He was not assaulted and he was the first one who informed them about the drugs.
Say no to drugs. National program to raise awareness to stop the rapid spread of drugs across the country. Phase 1 on the 26th, 27th and 28th of June in the Northern Province, covering all districts. Phase 2 in the Southern Province. Phase 3 in the Central Province. Phase 4 in the Eastern Province. We will visit your home to create a drug-free country. Say no to drugs. A social responsibility undertaken by Sirasa, Shakti and Newsfirst and the National Dangerous Drugs Control Board.
Speaking in Horana today, parliamentarian Vidru Wickramanayake said that the state mechanism to eradicate drugs from the country must be properly implemented.
See how much of a joke the place where the laws of the country are made has become. Should unlawful trades be encouraged? As of recent, there are small bottles of a certain beverage which can be found on sale close to schools, and when children consume this, they get intoxicated. Who has brought this? Can't this be found? Of course it can. Cannot drugs be wiped out? Yes, it can. But somewhere in a corner, there is a politician behind all of this. This is where things get difficult in this.
The parliamentarian made this statement to declare open a Sunday school building of the Sri Sunetra Ramavihara in Kapitiya, Horana.
Here with News First. Various views were expressed on the political stage today as well in relation to the need for good leaders through the implementation of the 20th Amendment to the Constitution.
A politician always thinks about how he can win the next election and what can be done. They think about how many lies must be told, how many people must be killed, how many kilos of drugs must be sold, how many gallons of ethanol must be brought to the country, and how many lives must be destroyed because of various illnesses. How much of money must be scrounged. But we, who think about the next generation, do not think about that. We think about how we can create an environment in which you can raise your child.
මේ මනාප බලුපොරේ නැති කරන්න කුඩුකාරයෝ එතනෝල්කාරයෝ.
Today, Maithripala Sirisena has taken measures to put a stop to these catfights for votes by not letting the drug dealers and ethanol dealers distort politics and introduce the 20th Amendment to the Constitution in order to create a group of true politicians who are suitable for this country. Our party is prepared to show its support for the passage of the 20th Amendment to the Constitution.
අපේ පක්ෂයේ සියලු දෙනාගේම සහයෝගය 20 වෙනි සංශෝධනයට අපි ලබා දෙන්න ලෑස්ති කරලා තියෙනවා.
This proportionate voting system must change if the people are to choose the parliamentarian and public representative they prefer. However, the problem is that the existing system cannot be changed entirely just like that. Steer this change on the right direction. They were in power for 20 years. Did they bring in the 20th Amendment to the Constitution? They had a two-thirds majority in Parliament. Did they change the electoral system? They are screaming for the system to be changed only after they lost.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa went to a temple and said he hid the crimes and corruption committed by his ministers. He said that he released them despite their wrongdoings. Isn't this not enough to punish someone? Should we vote for them again? Who are those who go from one stage to another and scream? They are the ethanol dealers, drug dealers and rapists.
There is a group who lost on the 8th of January who claimed that they will build a new country. How was the new nation built? All what they did from 2010 to 2015 was make this country the miracle of marijuana, drugs and murder, all under the guise of making the country the miracle of Asia. Then they said that they will make this an independent nation. However, what happened in the end over the past 5 years was that this nation was surrendered to the international community. They asked me if I am afraid of the upcoming elections. I am from Beliatta and I am a good Sinhala Buddhist. Our people do not even know where this thing called fear is. Tell me a position that is left for me if you can. I will always be a member of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party.
Events are being held across the world to celebrate the first ever International Yoga Day. The International Day for Yoga was celebrated in Sri Lanka along the iconic oceanside promenade of Colombo Golfways Green.
The event saw the participation of over 2,000 yoga enthusiasts, including politicians, diplomats and several well-known personalities.
Bring your hands down and slowly look upward. Posture.
Yoga, a physical, mental and spiritual practice having its origin over 6,000 years ago in India, aims to integrate the body and the mind.
And then slowly come forward.
Down. 1.
And people who are only comfortable, slowly come up. Relax your hands.
The launch of a special e-book on yoga as well as the screening of the message by the Prime Minister of India Narendra Modi in view of International Yoga Day were some of the events that took place at the Golfways Green this morning.
Today we've gathered to celebrate the first International Day of the Yoga, an ancient discipline, a discipline that has been passed on from generation to generation through the centuries, through the millennia in India and the wider region. As I mentioned, yoga is an ancient discipline. It nourishes the body, the mind and the soul. The yoga sages of the yesteryears passed this wonderful gift to successive generations, and we must acknowledge the great contribution of Patanjali and the sutras, which details this ancient discipline.
And you can also see.
Another such event was held in Jaffna today. A number of yoga enthusiasts, including the Deputy Indian High Commissioner A. Nadarajan, were present at the event.
Across India, tens of thousands of people, including military officials, bureaucrats, politicians, students and even diplomats, took part in yoga sessions today in a bid to promote world peace.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi, an enthusiastic practitioner of yoga himself, led one such session in the heart of India's capital, New Delhi. The Indian government has also applied to the Guinness World Records to record today's event as the largest gathering of people doing yoga together in the capital. While people in 650 districts across the nation stretch it out, yoga enthusiasts in 192 other countries are also expected to join in the celebrations.
A cultural centre which was constructed in the Noor area with the decentralised funds of General Secretary of the Citizens Front, MP J. Sri Ranga, was declared open yesterday.
MP J. Sriranga, who arrived at the Elephant Estate for the opening of the cultural centre, received a grand welcome. The cultural centre was constructed according to a concept of MP J. Sriranga himself.
Look at the hardships the people in the upcountry are facing. When there are strong winds in Galface, people fly their kites. But when there are strong winds here, they are afraid if their roofs will come off. So they hold on to their roofs because of that fear. In Colombo, kites fly high. But in the upcountry, their roofs fly off in the wind. People are in such despair. A cultural centre in the Elephant Estate is extremely important. These people are living here under many issues. This is not a place for children to showcase their talents. Women can engage in self-employment now. I am happy about that.
Several homes and buildings were damaged due to strong winds that swept across several areas this morning. According to the Department of Meteorology, strong winds accompanied by thunder showers were the cause of the damages.
The winds have first affected the Mahava area in the Kurunegala district. 3 buildings of the Kattapahua Primary School of the Mahava Education Zone were damaged due to the winds that swept across the area at around 8:30 this morning. Power and telephone lines were also damaged due to fallen trees. The winds have then affected the Morogolagama area in Galgamua. 13 houses in Polpitigama and Morogolagama areas were damaged by the winds. The Dambulla area experiences strong winds accompanied by rain. Vehicular movement on the Jaffna Kandy A9 road was hampered for over an hour due to a fallen tree in the Kapuate area in Dambulla. According to our correspondent, measures were taken by the Dambulla Municipal Council together with the police and aided residents to remove the tree off the road. Meanwhile, 2 houses in the Kalawagahala area in Kandalagama, Dambulla were also damaged due to the winds. Winds that swept across several areas of the Polonnaruwa district this morning caused several damages in the area. According to our correspondent, the Attanakadavala and Kanduruwala areas were affected by the winds, damaging 7 houses.
The Ministry of Health says that 10 expectant mothers passed away owing to the influenza virus over the past month.
The Ministry of Health said that according to information they have received, it has been noted that a majority of cases related to the influenza virus are recorded during the months of May, June and July and during the months of November, December and January. When we made inquiries from Senior Secretary of the Epidemiology Unit of the Ministry of Health, Dr. Atula Leonapathirana, he says that influenza virus spreads from person to person. The disease, which has been widespread as of late, has been identified as the AH1N1 influenza virus.
Some of the main symptoms of the virus are fever, cough, cold, sore throat, body pains, as well as diarrhea and vomiting. Expectant mothers in particular have to be especially vigilant and take precautions as they are the most vulnerable. Moreover, children under 2 years of age also need to be cautious, and elders between 65 and 70 years, as well as patients suffering from chronic disease, have a high risk of being infected by this virus. Due to this, the virus can aggravate diabetes, respiratory illnesses and kidney-related diseases.
Medical experts say it is best to seek medical assistance as soon as patients show symptoms of the disease in order to prevent the spread of the virus.
Expectant mothers must remember to avoid staying in crowded areas. You can also avoid spreading the virus by using a tissue or handkerchief and immediately discarding it. It is also advisable that you constantly wash your hands with soap. Pregnant mothers must immediately go to a doctor if they show any symptoms of the influenza virus.
That's a wrap from the News First team for tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.